So I want to talk about lack mentality and mindsets that we have that limit us in a lot of areas where we're trying to make progress. So limiting beliefs. And I kind of want to talk about financial limiting beliefs that could be preventing you from investing in things for yourself. And it came up when I was on a phone call and we were talking about supplements, and I a lot of times get the comment, well, that's expensive. I can't afford that. And I used to say that. I've kind of rephrased the way that I say that now. And I just say, well, that's something that I'm not prioritizing right now. Because, I mean, theoretically, if we cut back in certain areas, we could afford some things if we budget other things differently. And after being in Cuba, to be honest, we have so much money here. I mean, I don't make jack squat. And I feel like I'm wealthy beyond belief compared to the people of Cuba, who they live in a communist country and they get $9,000 a year. $9,000. And it just really put things into perspective for me. But what I'm talking about now is if there's something that you want to do, say you want to invest in, say, a personal trainer, you want to purchase some supplements that you think will help you get the results that you want. You want to get some testing done that costs $400, but you don't do it because you think you can't afford it, or you tell yourself that's way too much money. And I grew up with very little, with my parents didn't make much. And some people would probably say we were poor. I mean, as a child, I had love, and I never noticed it until I started hearing, well, that's too expensive. We can't afford that. Then it started getting into my head, and I started to get that same belief, like, oh my God, things are so expensive. And we wouldn't buy anything that was full price. We would shop at garage sales, get hand-me-downs, and that mentality then came into my adulthood. And so I had the same type of responses to things. And instead of thinking of, well, I could just stop purchasing this and instead allocate that money to that, then I can afford it. You just immediately go to, oh my God, that's so expensive. Like, oh my God, I can't. Like, they don't even give it a second thought, or I didn't even give it a second thought. It was so immediate in the negative mindset of that lack mentality. And when I was talking to this guy about people's responses to certain supplements, say they cost $100 a month. If you break it down per day, and if you break it down, so say for instance, it's a Celsius, okay? This is the example he gave me. Celsius is $3 a can, depending on where you buy it, give or take 25 cents. And the supplement that was similar to Celsius through the company was like $1 something, like $1.25 or something like that. So it was way cheaper than a Celsius. But we'll go out and purchase these cans of Celsius without thinking about it. Oh, it's only $3. Rather than looking at the other thing as an investment in how to save, because you'll have the whole quantity of, say for instance, 30 packets for, I don't know how much, $45, $50. And you're saving per basically a can of Celsius with this other supplement that's better for you. It's more natural. But we immediately look at the whole sticker price instead of breaking it down. And instead of thinking, well, instead of me buying cans of Celsius, I'll take that money and instead get this other supplement that's better for me, similar to Celsius. But we don't tend to think that way. Or at least I didn't in the past. And I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to this. So just breaking things down that you want. If there's something that you want, Don't tell yourself, I can't afford it, because I will tell you 9 times out of 10, you can. You just have to look at it differently. You have to look at, what could I cut back on in order to afford it? Is this something I want to prioritize spending my money on versus these other things I'm spending my money on? Because most of the money that we waste is on those $1 to $3, $6 things that we'll just pick up randomly here and there. It'll add up to well over $200 in a month. And you could have purchased this other thing that you maybe would have told yourself, well, I can't afford it, because you looked at the sticker price and didn't break it down per piece. And same thing like with training. I'll get that comment often, like, oh my God, that's so much. But if you break it down, super cheap compared to other things that you could be spending your money on. If you look at it on what it costs per day, it costs about a cup of coffee at Caribou or Starbucks per day in order to go and train with us at Elevate. Whereas personal training, it's $100 a pop. And we are basically personal training at a deep discount price. You're getting that one-on-one attention, but when people look at that full sticker price, they're like, oh, I can't afford that. And you just need to take a step back, take a breath, break down what your budget is. Because if it's something that you really want, you will find a way to afford it. And yeah, just being in Cuba just brought in such a different perspective of how, and they're I don't know. It's so hard to explain witnessing something like that. And that level of almost third world poverty, and realizing how good we have it here. We have it so good. And I don't take any of this stuff for granted anymore. I live in a palace, an absolute palace compared to them. And for Americans, I live in a moderate home, just a middle class, average neighborhood type of house, nothing special. But for someone in a low income communist country, I'm living in a mansion. So I look at it like that now, and I look at all these things that I'm able to get, and I feel so much more gratitude, so freaking blessed to be in this country. We are so rich here in this country, and even those who are not as well off have it so much better off than it could be. It's crazy. So just think about your mindset and where you might have that lack mentality, where you're just feeling like you don't have any control over something. You have more control than you think. So it's just taking a mindset shift in trying to rewire your brain and think differently about things. So anyway, just my 2 cents for the day.